Frank Morrison adjusted his formal uniform as he walked down the corridor of the massive space station. Today was important. As Earth's first official diplomat to the Galactic Council, he carried the hopes of humanity on his shoulders. His assistant, Susan Porter, walked beside him, checking her tablet one last time. "They're all waiting, sir. Remember, the Viridians will try to provoke you," Susan said quietly. Frank nodded. 8 months of preparation for this moment. Let's show them humans belong at this table. The giant doors to the council chamber opened. Inside, representatives from 37 alien species sat in rising tiers around a central speaking platform. Some looked like insects, others resembled reptiles, and a few were so strange they defied easy description. Humanity was the newest addition to this ancient organization. Frank stepped onto the platform, feeling the weight of hundreds of alien eyes. The central light shone down on him. "Distinguished members of the Galactic Council," he began, his voice steady and clear. "Earth thanks you for accepting our application for membership. We may be new to interstellar travel, but humanity brings unique perspectives and strengths to this esteemed body." A harsh laugh interrupted him. From the upper tier, a tall, blue-skinned alien with 4 arms stood up. This was Councillor Zrix of the Viridian Empire, the most vocal opponent of human membership. "The human speaks of strengths." "What strengths?" "Your species only achieved faster than light travel 20 Earth years ago. The rest of us have been traveling the stars for thousands of years. You are children playing with technology you barely understand." Frank remained calm. "With respect, Councillor Zrix, age does not equal wisdom. Earth has much to offer." "Earth has nothing we need," Zrix hissed. "Humans should be grateful we allow them to exist." Frank glanced at Susan, who gave him a slight nod. This was the moment they had prepared for. Perhaps the Council would be interested in these records, Frank said, activating a holographic display. "Our ships have documented Viridian vessels harvesting resources from protected worlds in the Centauri sector. This violates Article 17 of the Council Charter." The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Zrix's face darkened to a deep purple. "How dare you?" he shouted. "You spy on council members and bring unproven accusations." The head of the council, a gentle-looking being named Elder Mox, raised a hand for silence. "These are serious claims, Diplomat Morrison. Do you have proof?" "Complete sensor logs and visual confirmation, Elder," Frank replied, sending the data to the Council's shared system. "Earth respects Council law. We expect all members to do the same." As the Council members reviewed the evidence, Zrix whispered to his aides. The Viridian guards stationed around the chamber began moving closer to the central platform. Susan noticed first. "Sir," she whispered urgently, "we need to leave. Now." Frank saw the danger too late. 2 Viridian guards grabbed him while another blocked Susan. "This is outrageous," Elder Mox protested. "Release the human diplomat immediately." Councillor Zrix stood tall, his voice booming through the chamber. "The Viridian Empire does not tolerate primitive species questioning our honor. This human needs to learn his place." The guards dragged Frank toward a side chamber. Susan broke free from her captor and tried to reach her tablet to send an emergency signal to the human embassy. "The punishment for insulting the Viridian Empire is death," Zrix announced coldly. Despite protests from several council members, the Viridians acted quickly. They forced Frank into a transparent chamber visible to all. Susan watched in horror as they activated a device. Blue flames engulfed Frank Morrison as he screamed. His body burned while the council members watched, some in horror, others in shock, and a few in satisfaction. Susan managed to record everything. When the guards moved toward her, she ran. Using her knowledge of the station layout, she escaped to a maintenance shaft where an Earth agent waited with a small shuttle. 12 hours later, Susan Porter landed at the human embassy on Mars. Her hands shook as she handed over the recording of Frank Morrison's murder. "The Galactic Council just burned our diplomat alive," she told Admiral William Carter. They burned him alive for telling the truth. Admiral Carter watched the recording once, his face growing harder with each passing second. "They've made a terrible mistake," he said softly. "They just started a war they cannot win." The news of Frank Morrison's execution spread across Earth like wildfire. Screens in every home, on every street corner, and in every public space showed the terrible footage. Susan Porter's recording had been released to the public, unedited and raw. People watched in shock as their diplomat burned alive for simply telling the truth. President Allison Wells sat in the Oval Office, her face grim as her advisors filed in. The room was silent except for the soft sound of breathing. No one wanted to speak first. "How long until we can have our fleet fully mobilized?" President Wells finally asked. General Richard Martinez, a tall man with gray at his temples, cleared his throat. 72 hours, Madam President. We've already begun quiet preparations." Secretary Kyle Johnson, who had been Frank Morrison's mentor and was now the acting diplomat, placed a folder on the desk. "The Galactic Council has sent a message. They express regret over the incident, but claim the Viridian Empire acted within their cultural rights to address an insult to their honor." President Wells did not open the folder. Their cultural rights. They burned our diplomat alive for presenting evidence of their crimes. She stood up and walked to the window, looking out at Washington, D.C. What about our cultural rights? Throughout human history, we have learned that appeasement never works against tyrants. Dr. Olivia Grant, the lead scientist from the Advanced Defense Research Agency, spoke up. "Madam President, Project Thunderbolt is ready. We developed these weapons but kept them hidden during our negotiations with the Council." "Hidden why?" asked Secretary Johnson. "Because we're not fools," General Martinez answered. "Humanity has fought itself for thousands of years. We know war in a way these aliens can't understand. During Council inspections, we showed them what they expected to see: a young species with basic space weapons. They never found our real fleet or our real weapons." President Wells returned to her desk and sat down. "The Viridians and the Council think we're weak, primitive. They believe we'll beg for forgiveness." She pressed a button, and a holographic display appeared above her desk, showing Earth's hidden military assets. "They're wrong." She stood again. "Schedule an emergency broadcast. I will address Earth and our colonies in 2 hours." 2 hours later, President Wells stood before a simple blue backdrop. Cameras transmitted her image to every human settlement from Earth to the outer colonies. "My fellow citizens," she began, her voice steady. "Yesterday, Earth's diplomat Frank Morrison was murdered by the Viridian Empire while the Galactic Council watched. His crime was exposing their violations of the very laws they claim to uphold." She paused, letting the words sink in. "I have sent a message to the Galactic Council. Earth formally withdraws from all agreements. We have demanded they surrender those responsible for this act. They have refused." President Wells looked directly into the camera. "Throughout human history, we have sought peace, but we have never shied away from defending ourselves. The Viridian Empire and their allies believe we are weak because we are young. They do not understand that our history has prepared us for this moment." She straightened her shoulders. "As of this moment, Earth is at war with the Viridian Empire. To the Galactic Council, I offer this warning: stand aside or stand with them. Either way, justice will come." As she spoke, General Martinez gave the order. Across the solar system, hidden military bases activated. Ships that no alien inspector had ever seen emerged from camouflaged hangars. Weapons that had been kept off official records were loaded and armed. In her laboratory, Dr. Grant and her team worked furiously, finalizing weapon systems that could penetrate any known alien defense. Secretary Johnson sent a final message to the Galactic Council: "You've awakened the sleeping giant." On Mars, Admiral William Carter boarded his flagship. On the bridge, he looked at the crew, men and women who had trained for years in secret for a moment they hoped would never come. "Set course for Viridian space," he ordered. "It's time they learned who they're dealing with." The ship moved silently into the darkness, followed by hundreds more. Earth was going to war, and the galaxy would never be the same. Captain Lisa Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the ESS Vengeance, a ship that officially did not exist. The sleek black vessel was invisible to standard scanners, its hull absorbing rather than reflecting detection signals. Through the view screen, she watched as they approached the Viridian military outpost. "Status report," she said calmly. Lieutenant Daniel Wright looked up from his tactical station. "Stealth systems operating at full capacity, Captain. They have no idea we're here. Weapons are hot and ready." "Any word from the other ships?" Lisa asked. "Commander Harris reports his team is in position near the communications hub. Dr. Bennett has confirmed our targeting data for maximum effectiveness." Lisa nodded. In another part of the ship, Dr. Eric Bennett reviewed the data his team had gathered over years of secret observation. The Viridians had a weakness in their shield technology that they didn't know humans had discovered. Tonight, that knowledge would be put to use. "All hands, prepare for combat operations," Lisa announced over the ship's system. "Remember why we're here. For Frank Morrison. For Earth." The crew nodded grimly. Most had watched the video of their diplomat burning alive. None would forget it. On a nearby moon, Commander Nathan Harris led his team through the shadows toward the massive communications array that connected this Viridian outpost to their homeworld. They moved silently in advanced stealth suits. "Security pattern identified," whispered one of his team. 30 seconds until the next patrol passes." Nathan checked his weapon. It wasn't a standard laser or plasma gun. It was something new, something the aliens had never seen before, something Dr. Bennett had designed specifically to exploit Viridian vulnerabilities. "On my mark," he said softly. Back on the Vengeance, Lisa received the ready signal. "Lieutenant Wright, prepare first strike package. Target their shield generators and weapon systems." Daniel's fingers moved across his console. "Targeting complete, Captain. Experimental weapons locked." Lisa took a deep breath. This would be the first time humans and Viridians directly fought. It would set the tone for the war to come. "Fire," she ordered. The Vengeance launched weapons that looked like small silver darts. They flew toward the Viridian outpost, passing straight through the shields as if they weren't there. The weapons struck with surgical precision, destroying key systems, but leaving most of the base intact. Alarms blared across the Viridian outpost. Confused officers rushed to battle stations, unable to detect what was attacking them or how their supposedly impenetrable shields had failed. At that exact moment, Commander Harris and his team struck. They eliminated the guards at the communications array with silent efficiency, then planted small devices throughout the facility. "Charges set," Nathan reported through his secure comlink. "Withdrawing now." On the Vengeance, Lisa watched as the Viridian outpost tried to respond. They fired blindly into space, their shots missing the human ship by miles. "Second strike package ready," Daniel announced. "Fire," Lisa ordered again. More silver darts flew out, striking the weapons that were still operational. Within minutes, the outpost was defenseless. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the outpost," said the communications officer. "They're surrendering." Lisa smiled grimly. "Send them this message. This is humanity's response to the murder of Frank Morrison. Tell your leaders, this is only the beginning." As she spoke, Commander Harris and his team returned to their hidden shuttle. Behind them, the communications array exploded silently in the vacuum of space, cutting off the outpost from the rest of the Viridian Empire. "Mission complete," Nathan reported. "No casualties on our side." The Vengeance and the other human ships vanished back into the darkness of space long before Viridian reinforcements arrived. They left behind a crippled outpost and a clear message. In the Galactic Council chambers, representatives watched the reports with shock. The humans had struck with precision and power that none had expected. Many looked at Counselor Zrix with new concern. "What have you done?" Elder Mox asked him quietly. "What have you awakened?" Zrix had no answer. Admiral William Carter stood before the holographic display showing 6 Viridian worlds. 2 weeks had passed since the first strike, and now it was time for Phase 2. Around him, the bridge crew of the flagship Earthstar waited for his orders. Operation Thunderclap begins in 30 minutes, he announced. All ships report in. One by one, the captains of 20 warships confirmed their readiness. Each ship carried troops ready for ground assault under Major Samantha Lewis's command. "Remember, we hit all targets simultaneously," Admiral Carter said. "The Viridians must understand that nowhere is safe." Back on Earth, the War Council gathered again. President Wells listened as Senator Joseph Miller voiced his concerns. "Madam President, I support defending ourselves, but are we going too far? 6 worlds at once could cause massive casualties. The targets are military installations only," General Martinez replied. "Major Lewis has strict orders to minimize civilian harm." President Wells nodded. "We want justice, not genocide. But we must show strength now or face more threats later." On the edge of Viridian space, a different conversation took place. Counselor Thrix, a tall, slender alien with silver skin, spoke to Earth's temporary representative via a secure channel. "Your response is understandable," Thrix said, "but many council members fear what comes next. Humans have hidden their true capabilities." "What else are you hiding?" The human diplomat replied simply, "We hoped for peace. We prepared for war. Now the Viridians will face the consequences." Thrix sighed. "More council members withdraw support from the Viridians every day. Zrix's actions were not approved by us all." "Then help us end this quickly," the human said. Aboard the Earthstar, Admiral Carter gave the final order. "All ships, execute Operation Thunderclap." Across Viridian space, human warships appeared seemingly out of nowhere. The stealth technology that had hidden Earth's true fleet now revealed its terrible purpose. On the first world, Major Samantha Lewis led her troops toward the Viridian Military Academy. Her soldiers moved with precision born from centuries of human conflict. "Remember, we take prisoners when possible," she told her squad. "Show them humans understand mercy, unlike them." The Viridians fought back hard, but they were unprepared. Human soldiers used weapons specifically designed to counter Viridian technology. Shields failed. Communications jammed. Defense systems turned against their operators. On the Viridian homeworld, Counselor Zrix watched in horror as reports flooded in. 6 worlds under attack simultaneously. Human forces somehow breaching their best defenses. "Impossible," he shouted. "They are primitives. How can they do this?" An aide approached nervously. "Sir, the humans have captured our Western Command Center intact. They're downloading our military database." Zrix smashed his fist on the table. "Launch everything we have. Destroy their colonies. Show them what real war means." In the Galactic Council chamber, emergency session was called. Many representatives now distanced themselves from the Viridians. Some openly condemned Zrix's execution of the human diplomat. Counselor Thrix addressed the gathering. "We have underestimated the humans badly. Their technology, their military tactics, their resolve, all are far beyond what they revealed to us." Elder Mox nodded sadly. "They showed us what they wanted us to see. A young, peaceful species eager to join galactic society, while hiding the weapons and ships of a species that has known war for its entire history." Another counselor added, "On the 6th Viridian world, Major Lewis secured the planetary governor's surrender. Unlike the brutal execution of Frank Morrison, the humans took prisoners and treated them according to strict codes of conduct." "Why don't you just kill us?" a captured Viridian commander asked. Samantha looked at him coldly. "Because we're not like you. We fight when necessary, but we don't burn diplomats alive for telling the truth." As human forces secured their objectives, Admiral Carter received an urgent message. The Viridian Empire had launched a massive counterattack, not against Earth, but against the human colony world of New Montana, where mostly civilians lived. "All available ships," he ordered, Move to protect New Montana immediately. The Viridians have just made another terrible mistake. Governor Henry Ward stared at the emergency alert flashing on his screen. The Viridian attack fleet would reach New Montana in less than 3 hours. With most military forces deployed elsewhere, the colony had limited defenses. Everyone to the emergency shelters, he ordered his staff. And get me Commander Rivera now. Commander Paula Rivera arrived minutes later, her face grim. As head of New Montana's small defense force, she knew they were vastly outmatched. "We have 2 patrol ships and the orbital platform," she reported. "Against their fleet, it won't last 10 minutes. Governor Ward nodded. "We need to buy time until reinforcements arrive. What about the special defenses?" Paula smiled slightly. Like all human colonies, New Montana had hidden defenses that weren't on any official records. Chief Engineer Matthews has been waiting for my signal to activate them. Alan Matthews had designed New Montana's secret defense grid. For 3 years, his team had built weapons and shield generators disguised as mining equipment and atmosphere processors. Now he stood in the hidden control center beneath the colony's main square. "All systems online," he reported when Paula contacted him. "We can hold them off, but not forever." Above the colony, the small human patrol ships moved into position. They would be sacrificed to delay the Viridians and reveal their attack patterns. Governor Ward addressed the colony through the emergency system. "Citizens of New Montana, we are under attack. This is not a drill. Proceed to your designated shelters and prepare for possible ground combat." John Peterson heard the announcement while working in the Northern Farm District. Unlike many colonists, John had served in Earth's military before becoming a farmer. He rushed home and opened a locked chest hidden under his floorboards. Inside was a combat suit and weapons he had hoped never to use again. As his neighbors gathered, John took charge. "Everyone who can fight, come with me. The rest of you, get the children to the emergency bunkers." In orbit, the Viridian fleet arrived, immediately destroying the 2 patrol ships. They began bombarding the colony from space, expecting quick surrender. Instead, hidden defense batteries emerged from buildings, hillsides, and farms. Alan Matthews activated the shield grid, stopping most of the orbital bombardment. The Viridians, surprised by the resistance, launched landing craft. Commander Rivera coordinated the defense from a bunker near the colony center. They're landing in sectors 3, 7, and 9. All defense teams respond. John Peterson led his group of farmers-turned-fighters toward Sector 7. None were professional soldiers, but all were human, and humans have been fighting wars since they first picked up stones and sticks. "Remember," John told them, "the Viridians are stronger than us physically, but their battle tactics are predictable. They rely too much on technology and not enough on adaptation." The Viridian ground forces expected to find frightened civilians. Instead, they met organized resistance. Colonial defenders used the landscape they knew intimately, setting traps and ambushes. John's group attacked from multiple directions, never staying in one place. "Keep moving," John shouted as they fired on Viridian troops before melting back into the colony's outskirts. Hours passed. The colony took damage, but held. Alan Matthews rerouted power to shields and weapons as needed. Commander Rivera coordinated the defense teams with cold efficiency. Governor Ward helped treat the wounded while maintaining contact with Earth. In space, the first human reinforcements arrived. Small, fast ships that harassed the Viridian fleet with hit-and-run attacks. Admiral Carter's main fleet was still hours away, but these advanced ships bought precious time. In his farm sector, John Peterson saw a group of Viridian soldiers approaching the hidden entrance to a shelter containing children. Without hesitation, he and 3 neighbors moved to intercept them. The fight was brutal and close. John took a plasma blast to his shoulder, but kept fighting. "Not our children," he growled, taking down 2 Viridians with his remaining strength. As night fell on New Montana, the colony still stood. Damaged but unbowed, the human defenders held their positions, waiting for dawn and Admiral Carter's fleet. From his command ship, the Viridian fleet commander watched with growing frustration. What should have been an easy victory against a lightly defended colony had turned into a costly standoff. "These humans fight like demons," he told his officers. "What kind of species are they?" Ambassador Laura Wilson sat across from Grand Minister Kellax, leader of the Novan Alliance, a coalition of 7 species that had remained neutral in the growing conflict. The meeting took place on a space station far from both Earth and Viridian space. "Thank you for agreeing to see me, Grand Minister," Laura said. She placed a data cube on the table. "This contains evidence of Viridian crimes against multiple species, not just humans." Kellax, a tall being with 6 eyes arranged in a circle around his head, picked up the cube. "Many believe this war is simply revenge for your diplomat's death." "It began that way," Laura admitted. "But we've discovered something far worse. The Viridians have been secretly attacking and enslaving developing species for centuries." The Grand Minister's eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of distress in his species. "These are serious claims, Ambassador. The evidence is there. We found it in their military databases when we captured their command centers." Meanwhile, in the fractured Galactic Council, Councillor Thrix addressed the remaining members. Many had left after the war began, unwilling to choose sides. "We cannot ignore what is happening," Thrix said. "The human colony of New Montana successfully defended itself against a Viridian attack force 3 times its size. Their main fleet has now engaged the Viridians in that system." Elder Mox, who had tried to prevent Frank Morrison's execution, nodded sadly. "The humans fight with remarkable skill for such a young species." "Because they are not as young as they appeared," a reptilian counselor added. "They showed us outdated technology during inspections while hiding their true capabilities." On the Viridian homeworld, Councillor Drix faced growing opposition. His decision to execute the human diplomat had sparked a war his people were now losing. "The humans must be destroyed completely," he shouted at his military council. "They are a plague upon the galaxy." An older general spoke up. "Our forces are being defeated on multiple fronts. Perhaps we should consider peace negotiations." Zrix's eyes narrowed. "Peace? With primitives who dare to challenge us?" He turned to his personal guards. "Remove this coward." The guards hesitated, then moved to arrest not the general, but Zrix himself. "What is this?" Zrix screamed. "A change in leadership," the general said calmly. "Your war is destroying our empire." Zrix broke free and grabbed a weapon, killing 2 guards before being stunned unconscious. "Take him away," the general ordered. "The High Council will decide his fate." But it was too late for a simple leadership change to save the Viridian Empire. General Martinez stood before the Human War Council, presenting the latest intelligence. "The Viridians are fracturing. Several of their colony worlds have contacted us about surrender terms." President Wells nodded. "And the Novan Alliance?" "Ambassador Wilson reports progress. They're reviewing our evidence." Secretary Johnson added, 7 more council members have formally condemned the Viridians and offered support to Earth. "And New Montana?" the president asked. General Martinez smiled slightly. Admiral Carter's fleet arrived in time. The colony held out remarkably well under Governor Ward's leadership. A civilian named John Peterson has become something of a hero. He led the defense of a children's shelter against overwhelming odds. "Make sure he receives proper recognition," President Wells said. "Now what about the Prometheus Protocol?" The room grew quiet. Dr. Grant spoke up. "It's ready, Madam President, but once deployed, there's no going back." "Let's hope we don't need it," President Wells said. "I want victory, but not at any cost." On New Montana, cleanup had begun. John Peterson, his arm in a sling from his wound, helped rebuild homes damaged in the attack. Admiral Carter had personally visited to thank the colonists for their bravery. "We're just farmers and miners," John had told him. "We did what any humans would do." The admiral smiled. "That's exactly what the Viridians don't understand about us, and why they'll lose this war." Across the galaxy, species that had dismissed humans as newcomers now watched with growing concern and respect. The sleeping giant was fully awake, and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral William Carter watched the final battle plans take shape on the holographic display. 1 month of war had brought the Viridian Empire to its knees. Now it was time to end it. The Sunbreaker is deployed on these 5 ships, Lieutenant Daniel Wright explained, pointing to key vessels in the fleet. Each can target a different star system if necessary. Dr. Olivia Grant stood nearby, her face showing mixed pride and concern. The Sunbreaker was her creation, a weapon that could destabilize a star, causing solar flares that would disable planetary defenses without destroying the planet itself. "Remember, this is not a planet killer," she said firmly. "It's designed to cripple their military capability while sparing civilian populations." Admiral Carter nodded. "Our target is the Viridian home system. We end this where it began, with their leadership." Meanwhile, Captain Lisa Rodriguez prepared for her most dangerous mission yet. Her ship, the ESS Vengeance, would slip behind enemy lines before the main attack. "Our objective is to evacuate political prisoners and any civilians who wish to leave," she told her crew. "The Viridians have rounded up those who oppose the war. We're getting them out before the Sunbreaker deploys." Across the galaxy, Ambassador Laura Wilson had succeeded in her mission. The Novan Alliance formally joined Earth's coalition, bringing 7 more species into the fight against the Viridian Empire. "The evidence you provided was impossible to ignore," Grand Minister Kullax told her. "The Viridians have been secretly attacking developing worlds for centuries, stealing resources and enslaving populations." Laura nodded grimly. "We found their records when we captured their command centers. That's why this is no longer just about revenge for one diplomat. It's about justice for dozens of species." On Earth, President Wells addressed the final War Council. The Viridian government has refused all peace offers. Their new military leader, General Kraz, is even more extreme than Drix was. "Our intelligence suggests they're planning something desperate," Secretary Johnson added. "Something called Project Starkiller." General Martinez frowned. "Our analysts believe it's a weapon capable of destroying multiple star systems at once. If deployed, billions would die across the galaxy." "Then we have no choice," President Wells said. "Authorize Operation Final Push. Stop that weapon at all costs." As the human fleet approached the Viridian home system, Captain Rodriguez's ship slipped through the defensive lines using its advanced stealth technology. The Vengeance landed near a prison complex on the 3rd planet. "Move fast," Lisa ordered her team. "We have 2 hours until the main fleet arrives." Inside the prison, they found thousands of Viridians and members of other species. Among them were those who had opposed the war and spoken out against Frank Morrison's execution. "You're humans," one Viridian prisoner said in disbelief. "Why would you rescue us after what our government did to your diplomat?" "Because that's not who we are," Lisa replied simply. "We fight when we must, but we don't punish innocent people for their leaders' crimes." As the rescue operation continued, Admiral Carter's fleet engaged the Viridian defenses. The battle was fierce but one-sided. Human ships, using technology they had hidden for years, cut through the enemy fleet with surgical precision. On the Viridian homeworld, in a bunker deep underground, General Kraz prepared to activate Project Starkiller. "The humans have left us no choice," he told his remaining officers. "If we fall, half the galaxy falls with us." Unknown to him, a Special Forces team led by Commander Nathan Harris had infiltrated the facility. They moved silently through maintenance tunnels, following plans provided by Viridian rebels. "We have 5 minutes to stop the weapon," Nathan whispered to his team. "If we fail, billions die." Above the planet, Dr. Grant's Sunbreaker activated, causing the Viridian sun to flare dramatically. Power grids across the planet failed. Defense systems went offline. In the underground bunker, emergency lights flickered on. "What's happening?" General Kraz demanded as his screens went dark. The answer came in the form of Commander Harris and his team bursting through the door. "Project Starkiller ends here," Nathan said, weapon raised. The battle for the Viridian control room was brief but intense. Commander Nathan Harris and his team disabled the guards with non-lethal weapons. General Kraz tried to reach for the Starkiller activation button, but Nathan was faster. "It's over," Nathan said, securing the Viridian general's hands. "Your weapon is now under our control." Throughout the Viridian system, human forces secured strategic locations. The Sunbreaker weapon had worked perfectly, causing solar flares that disabled technology without harming civilian populations. Captain Lisa Rodriguez's rescue mission succeeded in evacuating thousands of political prisoners. Among them were many who had opposed the execution of Frank Morrison and the war that followed. "The fighting is over," Admiral Carter announced to his fleet. "The Viridian military has surrendered." 2 weeks later, the former Galactic Council chamber hosted a different kind of meeting. Representatives from 73 species gathered to determine the future of galactic governance. President Allison Wells stood at the center, where Frank Morrison had once stood. Unlike the Viridians, Earth had chosen mercy over vengeance. No Viridian worlds had been destroyed, though their military had been completely dismantled. "We gather today not as conquerors, but as equals," President Wells began. "The old council failed because it allowed the strong to prey on the weak. We propose a new galactic charter based on justice and mutual respect." Councillor Thrix, who had helped broker peace, nodded in agreement. "The humans have shown us a better way forward." They had the power to destroy their enemies completely but chose a more difficult path. In the audience sat John Peterson, the farmer who had become a hero of New Montana. President Wells had asked him to attend as a symbol of ordinary humanity's strength and compassion. "I don't understand," a young Viridian asked him during a break. "Your people could have destroyed our worlds after what we did. Why didn't you?" John thought of the battle to protect the children's shelter. "Because destroying is easy. Building something better is hard. Humans have always preferred the hard path if it's the right one." Former Councillor Drix was brought to the chamber in restraints. He would stand trial for war crimes, including the murder of Frank Morrison. Both human and alien judges would determine his fate. When Drix saw the human delegation, he expected hatred and torture. Instead, they simply looked at him with calm determination. This, somehow, was more frightening than rage would have been. Ambassador Laura Wilson presented the new Galactic Charter, developed with input from dozens of species. The first article establishes that no species may be judged solely by its age or technological development, she explained. The second ensures that all diplomatic representatives are protected by universal law. At the center of the new council headquarters, a memorial had been built. It showed Frank Morrison as he had been in life, not as a victim, but as a diplomat building bridges between worlds. The inscription read, "His death sparked a war. Let his life inspire peace." Dr. Olivia Grant supervised the dismantling of the Sunbreaker weapons and Project Starkiller. "These technologies are too dangerous," she told the Multi-Species Scientific Committee. "Some knowledge should be carefully controlled, not destroyed but not freely available either." As the new Galactic Union took shape, Admiral Carter and General Martinez began reducing Earth's military presence. The hidden fleet that had shocked the galaxy returned to defensive positions. "Will we need them again?" a junior officer asked Admiral Carter. "I hope not," he replied. "But humanity will always be ready." On the final day of the conference, President Wells visited Frank Morrison's memorial alone. She placed her hand on the inscription. "We did what we had to do," she said quietly. "I hope you would be proud of how we ended it." Behind her, the representatives of 73 species prepared to sign the new charter. Humanity had entered the galactic stage through fire and war. Now they would lead through wisdom and justice. The sleeping giant was awake, and the galaxy would never again mistake humanity's desire for peace as a sign of weakness.